You've been faithful. You've been consistent. You've stayed disciplined when it would have been easier to quit. And yet, nothing seems to be changing. You wake up every morning with hope, but by night, you're fighting quiet frustration. Because deep down, you expected progress by now. You thought you would be further ahead, further in your career, further in your relationships, further in your purpose. Instead, it feels like you're circling the same mountain. And if you're honest, the hardest part isn't the waiting. It's watching others move ahead while you remain still. That promotion you prayed for went to someone else. That opportunity you prepared for never opened. That breakthrough you believed was coming didn't arrive on your timeline. And slowly, silently, a dangerous thought begins to whisper, maybe it's not meant for me. But here is the truth you need to hear today. Just because it hasn't happened yet doesn't mean it's not happening. Delay is not evidence of absence. Silence is not proof of abandonment. What feels like stagnation may actually be positioning. There is a season in life that doesn't look productive on the surface. It doesn't come with applause. It doesn't come with visible rewards. It comes with obscurity. And obscurity can feel like invisibility. But invisibility is often preparation. A seed buried underground looks forgotten, covered in dirt, hidden from light. But underground, something powerful is happening. Roots are forming, strength is developing, depth is being established. And the deeper the roots, the stronger the future growth. If the seed were exposed too early, if it broke the surface before its foundation was secure, it would collapse under the weight of its own potential. So the delay is not punishment, it's protection. It's not rejection, it's reinforcement. There are things God does in private that you would never understand in public, because public success without private formation creates fragile victories. You don't see the conversations happening behind closed doors. You don't see the alignments taking place in rooms you've never entered. You don't see the redirections saving you from battles you were never meant to fight. All you see is the clock ticking, reminding you that time is passing. And when time passes without visible progress, the enemy of peace enters comparison. Comparison will convince you you're behind. Comparison will distort your perspective. Comparison will make someone else's timeline feel like a standard. But divine timing does not operate on human calendars. There are doors that would have destroyed you 5 years ago that will elevate you when they open at the right moment. There are responsibilities you prayed for that require a version of you that does not yet exist. So the delay is building that version. You are not stuck. You are being shaped. And shaping is rarely comfortable. It requires stretching. It requires refining. It requires moments where nothing makes sense. But clarity often comes after endurance. Think about this. If everything happened the moment you asked for it, would you truly be ready to sustain it? Blessings without maturity become burdens. Increase without character becomes collapse. And sometimes the greatest act of love is not giving you what you want immediately. It's preparing you for what you've been called to carry. What feels like delay may actually be divine calibration, adjusting your mindset, strengthening your resilience, refining your motives, aligning you with people, opportunities, and timing that you cannot yet see. Because when divine timing activates, it will not require you to chase. It will meet you prepared. Right now, it may feel slow, it may feel quiet, it may feel unnoticed, but quiet seasons build loud futures. Hidden seasons build visible victories. And the very thing that makes you question your progress may be the evidence that something greater is forming beneath the surface. Stay steady. The delay is not your defeat. It may be the setup for your promotion. There is a reason the waiting feels heavy. Because waiting tests identity. It forces you to confront a question most people avoid. Who am I when nothing is happening? It's easy to feel chosen when doors are opening. It's easy to feel favored when progress is visible. It's easy to trust when momentum is obvious. But what about when the phone doesn't ring? When the email doesn't come? When the opportunity passes you by? That's where faith stops being theory and becomes formation. You see, divine timing is not just about when something happens. It's about who you become before it happens. There was a young shepherd boy named David, anointed to be king, chosen publicly, declared by a prophet. But after the anointing, he went back to the field, back to sheep, back to obscurity, back to routine. Imagine the confusion. I've been chosen, so why am I still here? The oil was on his head, but the crown was not in his hands. That gap between promise and fulfillment is where most people lose confidence. Because when promise meets delay, doubt tries to step in. But what if the field was not a setback? What if it was training? David learned to fight lions and bears in private before he ever faced Goliath in public. The delay was developing his strength. If he had stepped into the palace too early, without wilderness experience, he would not have survived the pressure. So the field was not rejection, it was rehearsal. And maybe where you are right now is not your final destination. It's your preparation ground. You think you're being overlooked, but heaven sees development differently. While you're measuring progress by speed, God is measuring readiness by depth. There are conversations happening about you that you're unaware of. There are alignments shifting quietly. There are people being moved out of positions to make room for you at the right time. But timing requires synchronization. If one piece moves too early, the entire structure collapses. So sometimes heaven pauses you because something bigger is being aligned. And pauses can feel like punishment if you don't understand the process. But pause does not mean no. Pause means not yet. And not yet is not denial. It's divine sequencing. Think about Joseph. He had a dream of leadership, a dream of influence, a dream that others would bow before him. But instead of a throne, he was thrown into a pit. Instead of authority, he was sold into slavery. Instead of recognition, he was forgotten in prison. If anyone had reason to believe he missed his moment, it was Joseph. Years passed. Silence, no visible progress, no applause, no explanation. But what he could not see was that each delay was positioning him closer to purpose. The pit introduced him to resilience. The palace taught him administration. The prison refined his character. Every delay was adding a layer he would need when elevation finally came. And when the timing aligned, promotion happened in a day. Years of delay. One moment of acceleration. That's how divine timing works. It can look slow for a long season and then shift suddenly. But if Joseph had quit in the prison, if David had abandoned the field, their stories would have ended in obscurity. The waiting season is not wasted. It is building a version of you that can sustain the breakthrough. You may not see movement, but development is happening. You may not see doors opening, but preparation is unfolding. You may not feel progress, but depth is increasing, and depth always precedes height, because the higher the building, the deeper the foundation must go. So if the foundation phase feels long, it's not because your future is small. It may be because your future is bigger than you imagined. Divine timing is not random. It is precise. And precision sometimes feels like delay when you only see part of the picture. But heaven sees the whole frame. Stay steady. Your field is forming your future. Your prison may be protecting your promotion. And what feels like a setback may be a setup you'll one day thank God for. Let's go deeper, because sometimes the delay doesn't just test patience. It attacks perspective. You begin to interpret silence as disinterest. You begin to interpret waiting as weakness. You begin to interpret stillness as stagnation. But stillness is not stagnation. Stillness can be strategy. There are seasons when growth is invisible, no applause, no external validation, no dramatic breakthroughs, just quiet consistency. And quiet consistency feels unimpressive in a loud world. We live in a culture that celebrates speed, overnight success, instant results, viral moments. But divine timing is not driven by urgency. It is driven by alignment. If God gave you everything the moment you desired it, you might mistake speed for favor. But favor is not proven by speed. It is proven by sustainability. Fast growth without inner strength creates fragile outcomes, and fragile outcomes collapse under pressure. So the delay strengthens what applause cannot see. Let me speak directly to you. If you feel behind, you are not behind. If you feel forgotten, you are not forgotten. If you feel like your season passed you by, your season has not expired, because divine timing does not expire. It unfolds. There is a difference. Expiration suggests loss. Unfolding suggests process. A flower does not bloom because it feels pressure. It blooms because it is ready. If you force it open early, you damage what was meant to develop naturally. So maybe the delay is mercy. Maybe the waiting is wisdom. Maybe the silence is sacred, because silence eliminates distraction. In silence, motives are purified. In silence, resilience is formed. In silence, identity is anchored. When nothing external affirms you, you are forced to anchor internally. And when your identity becomes internal, no external delay can destabilize you. That's when peace begins to replace panic. You stop measuring yourself against others. You stop comparing timelines. You stop chasing validation. You start trusting process. And trust changes everything. Because once you trust divine timing, you stop fighting seasons. You stop asking, why is this taking so long? And start asking, what is this building in me? That shift alone transforms frustration into formation. Remember this, what feels slow to you may be synchronized perfectly in heaven. There are details you cannot see. Conversations happening beyond your awareness. Opportunities being redirected. Closed doors preventing wrong alignments. Sometimes what you call delay is actually protection from premature exposure. There are rooms you prayed to enter that would have broken you emotionally. There are partnerships you wanted desperately that would have drained you spiritually. There are promotions you felt ready for that would have overwhelmed you mentally. So the closed door was not rejection. It was redirection. And redirection is proof that you are being guided. When something is not aligned, divine timing intervenes. It slows you down. It blocks the path. It reroutes the journey. And rerouting can feel like setback if you only measure by speed. But rerouting often leads to a better destination. What if the delay you resent today is the story you'll thank God for tomorrow? What if the silence that frustrates you is the space where your strength is forming? What if the reason nothing is moving is because everything is being positioned? Because when divine timing activates, it will not feel forced. It will feel aligned. It will not feel rushed. It will feel ready. And when it happens, you will look back at this waiting season and realize nothing was wasted. Not the tears, not the confusion, not the quiet nights, not the unanswered prayers. Every moment was building momentum beneath the surface. Momentum you couldn't measure, progress you couldn't post, growth you couldn't prove, but growth that was real. And real growth does not require public recognition. It requires private endurance. Stay faithful in private. Stay disciplined in obscurity. Stay consistent when no one applauds. Because divine timing does not reward noise. It rewards readiness. Let's settle this in your spirit once and for all. What you feel and what is real are not always the same. It feels slow, but slow does not mean stagnant. It feels silent, but silent does not mean absent. It feels like nothing is changing, but unseen does not mean inactive. Feelings speak loudly, but divine timing moves quietly. And if you are not careful, you will allow temporary emotions to define permanent truths. You feel behind. But heaven does not measure by comparison. You feel forgotten, but divine timing does not misplace destinies. You feel delayed. But delay in the hands of God is never accidental. Let me say it clearly. Your feelings are information. They are not authority. Authority belongs to truth. And truth says that what feels like delay is divine timing. Divine timing is not passive. It is intentional. It is calibrated. It is exact. There is nothing random about your season. Nothing accidental about your waiting. Nothing careless about your current position. You are not drifting. You are being directed. You are not stalled. You are being shaped. You are not falling behind. You are being aligned. Because alignment often requires isolation. Alignment often requires slowing down. Alignment often requires detours. And detours feel like delay until you see the destination. Imagine arriving too early. Imagine stepping into a role before your character could sustain it. Imagine holding influence without inner stability. Premature promotion destroys more people than delay ever will. So if you are still waiting, it is not because you are unqualified. It may be because you are being fortified. Fortified in patience. Fortified in wisdom. Fortified in humility. Fortified in resilience. Divine timing fortifies before it elevates. Because elevation without fortification creates collapse. And you were not called to collapse. You were called to sustain. You were called to lead. You were called to influence. But calling requires capacity, and capacity is built in seasons that look like delay. This is why panic is premature. This is why comparison is unnecessary. This is why quitting is dangerous. Because the very season that tempts you to walk away may be the season closest to breakthrough. Breakthrough does not announce itself early. It builds quietly. It forms invisibly. It aligns gradually. And then suddenly it appears. Years of preparation, one moment of manifestation. That is divine timing. It may feel like you're stuck in repetition, but repetition builds mastery. It may feel like doors keep closing, but closed doors narrow focus. It may feel like prayers are unanswered, but unanswered prayers often redirect purpose. There is strength being formed in you that applause could never produce. There is endurance being cultivated in you that comfort could never create. There is clarity emerging in you that speed would have distorted. So instead of asking, when will it happen? Start declaring, it is happening, not externally. Internally, development is happening, alignment is happening, maturity is happening, preparation is happening. And when preparation meets opportunity, divine timing activates. You will not have to force it. You will not have to manipulate it. You will not have to chase it. It will recognize you as ready. Because divine timing does not arrive randomly. It arrives precisely. Right now, your assignment is not acceleration. It is faithfulness. Faithfulness in obscurity. Faithfulness in repetition. Faithfulness in silence. Because faithfulness during delay proves readiness for destiny. You are not behind. You are becoming. You are not forgotten. You are forming. You are not delayed. You are being divinely timed. Take a deep breath. Let the urgency leave your shoulders. You are not in a race. You are in a process. And process is not always visible. But it is always valuable. What feels like delay is not a sign that you are disqualified. It is a sign that something is being completed. Inside you, around you, ahead of you. You cannot see the full architecture of your life. You only see the room you're standing in. But divine timing sees the entire structure. Every beam, every connection, every load-bearing wall. Nothing is random. Nothing is wasted. Not the tears you cried in private. Not the nights you questioned your progress. Not the mornings you showed up without motivation. Not the prayers that felt like they hit the ceiling. All of it is material. All of it is building. All of it is preparing. And one day, when the door opens, you will realize if it had happened sooner, you would not have appreciated it the same. If it had happened earlier, you would not have sustained it the same. If it had happened faster, you would not have stewarded it the same. Divine timing does not just deliver blessings. It prepares the person receiving them. You are being prepared right now, in this season, in this quiet stretch, in this invisible phase. So stop calling it delay. Start calling it development. Stop calling it stagnation. Start calling it strengthening. Stop calling it being behind. Start calling it being built. Because when divine timing activates, it will not feel chaotic. It will feel right. It will feel aligned. It will feel undeniable. And you will not say, "Why did this take so long?" You will say, "Now I understand. Now I see why that door closed. Now I see why that opportunity didn't work. Now I see why I had to wait. The delay was not against me. It was for me. The silence was not neglect. It was nurture. The waiting was not punishment. It was positioning. Let this settle in your spirit. You are not behind schedule. Heaven does not panic. Heaven does not rush. Heaven does not miscalculate. Divine timing is exact. It is measured. It is intentional. So if it hasn't happened yet, it is not because you were overlooked. It is because you are being aligned. Stay faithful. Stay steady. Stay patient. Stay grounded. Because what feels like delay is divine timing. And divine timing never fails. One day, suddenly, what you prayed for will stand in front of you. And it will not feel late. It will feel perfect. Until then, trust the process. Trust the preparation. Trust the positioning. Trust the timing. You are not forgotten. You are not stuck. You are not behind. You are on schedule, divinely scheduled. And when it unfolds, you will see. The delay was the design.